The ship trembled under the pressure of the alien atmosphere. Commander Aiden Carr gripped the control panel with white-knuckled hands, trying to keep the Valor steady. The sky above the planet of Shaib was a swirling mass of dark green clouds and flashes of violet lightning, and the gravity fluctuated in ways that made every step feel like walking through molasses. Status report. Aiden barked over the intercom. His crew, a mix of humans and a few other interstellar allies, were scrambling across the bridge. The navigation officer, a tall woman named Lyra, her eyes wide with both fear and excitement, shouted back, "We're holding, sir. But the readings from the surface, there's something massive down there." Something alive. Aiden didn't have time to respond. The planet's surface was alive with energy. The readings weren't just of flora or fauna. They were of intelligence, and it was moving toward them. The first contact had been an accident. A human survey team had detected a massive energy signal near the equator of Shaib and decided to investigate. No one had expected to find a city. Not just any city, but one built inside the massive carapace of a living creature. A creature so enormous that it could cast shadows over whole continents. And now, as the Valor hovered above, the creature had awakened. Aiden felt the bridge vibrate as a pulse radiated from the planet. It wasn't just a tremor. It was a message. A deep, resonant voice that seemed to echo inside his skull. Human. It boomed. The words were jagged, harsh, and impossible to mistake. "Take your Shaibod out of me!" The crew froze. Some gasped. Some laughed nervously, assuming it was some kind of alien jest or malfunction. But Aiden knew the truth. This was no machine. No echo chamber. This was alive, and it was furious. "Explain that," Aiden muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Lyra tapped at the console furiously. "Sir, it seems the Shaib, whatever this entity is, it's aware of us, and it's communicating directly. It's angry. Angry doesn't even begin to cover it," Aiden said. He stared at the massive energy readings on the main display. The Shaib Queen, as the records from past explorers would later call her, was a force of nature. A being so ancient and intelligent that the concept of human arrogance seemed laughable in comparison. And yet here they were, orbiting above her like ants daring to trespass in the domain of a god. The ship rocked violently again. The voice came once more, louder, more insistent. "Human, take your Shaib-Od out of me." This time it was followed by a pulse of light that slammed into the Valor, sending sparks flying and alarms blaring. Crew members were thrown to the floor. Aiden rolled with the impact, quickly pulling himself to his feet. "What the hell is a Shaib-Od?" muttered Corporal Jenks, rubbing a sore shoulder. He looked around at the blinking consoles, unsure whether to laugh or scream. Aiden shook his head. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's inside her, and apparently it's causing her pain." The concept was surreal. They had faced hostile alien life before, had dodged meteor storms, fought off aggressive xenopredators, and negotiated with civilizations that had existed for millions of years. But nothing had ever directly demanded that humanity remove something invasive from its very body. The crew stared at the holographic displays. Deep within the Shaib's enormous bioluminescent shell, the sensors picked up humans, or at least human technology. A group of early survey drones had accidentally pierced the outer layer of the living planet. Their small devices had embedded themselves into her nervous system. "She's not attacking us," Lyra said quietly. "She's in pain. We're the cause." Aiden ran a hand over his face. "So, she's like a giant, living city, and we've been a parasite?" "More like a splinter in her system," Lyra said. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then the Queen's voice returned, tinged now with a sound that was almost sorrowful. "Human, understand my suffering. Remove it, or be gone." Aiden felt a surge of empathy, something he had rarely experienced in space. The humans on his team had faced death countless times, but the reality of causing pain to a being so immense, so intelligent, it was sobering. He turned to Lyra. "Get me the drone feed. Every single drone that touched her. I want to know exactly what we did." Lyra nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. Images appeared on the holographic displays. Tiny machines, human-made, were embedded deep within the living tissue of the Shaib. Some were damaged beyond repair. Others were still transmitting data, unaware of the pain they were causing. Aiden swallowed hard. "We're going in," he said. The crew exchanged nervous glances. "Sir, are you saying—" Jenks began. "We're going to enter her system. We're going to retrieve the drones. And we're going to make this right," Aiden said, his voice steady. It wasn't an ordinary mission. The Valor was not built for entering living worlds. But Aiden had always believed in humanity's ability to adapt, to survive, to rise to impossible challenges. And now humanity had a chance to prove itself, not through conquest, not through war, but through understanding, compassion, and skill. The descent was harrowing. The Valor's hull shone under the eerie light of the Shaib's bioluminescence. Every movement was met with resistance, the very atmosphere acting as though the planet were aware of their intrusion. Aiden's hands were steady on the controls, but he could feel the tension in his chest. Every second counted. One wrong move could crush them, or worse, cause more pain to the Queen. As they approached the first embedded drone, the ship's sensors detected a neural pulse surrounding it. The Shaib was reacting, protecting herself while simultaneously signaling distress. "She knows we're here," Lyra whispered. "Yes," Aiden said softly, "and we need her to trust us." It was the human way: empathy, understanding, courage. Traits that had allowed their species to thrive in the harshest corners of the galaxy. Traits that no alien could replicate, no matter how advanced. The retrieval was delicate. Aiden guided the Valor with surgical precision, using robotic arms to gently remove the drones without triggering the Queen's defensive responses. Each successful extraction sent a pulse of relief through the ship, and for the first time the voice of the Queen softened. Human. Careful. "Thank you." The crew exchanged astonished looks. Even in the vastness of space, even in encounters with gods of flesh and energy, humanity's approach, reason, courage, empathy could make a difference. But just as they began to think the worst was over, an unexpected tremor shook the ship. The Queen's voice, once melodic and sorrowful, now roared with fear and anger. "Stop, human. Do not harm." "My core!" Aiden froze. The Valor's sensors indicated that one of the drones had lodged itself near what appeared to be the Shaib Queen's central nervous hub. Removing it could destabilize her entire system. The weight of the decision pressed on him. One wrong move, and not just their ship, but the Queen herself could be destroyed. "We can't leave it in," Lyra said, her voice tense. "It's causing her pain." Aiden nodded, his mind racing. "We do it carefully. We coordinate. We think like her. We anticipate her reactions. Humanity has never faced a challenge like this, but we've faced worse, and we'll do it, for her, and for us." The crew braced themselves as Aiden guided the robotic arms toward the embedded drone. The Shaib quivered under them, her body pulsating with energy that felt almost like emotion. Every careful movement, every minor adjustment sent waves of pain or relief through her. And then, finally, the drone was free. A moment of silence followed. The Valor hung in the glowing expanse of the Shaib's surface. And then the Queen spoke, her voice resonant, calm, almost reverent. "Human. You understand. You are different." Aiden felt something swell in his chest, a mixture of pride, relief, and awe. This was humanity at its best. Courage, empathy, ingenuity. They had faced the unimaginable and chosen to protect, not conquer. "Thank you," he said, though the words felt small against the vast intelligence before them. The Queen pulsed with light, a gesture of acknowledgement. "Return to your kind, and carry the lesson forward, humans. You are remarkable." Aiden exhaled, his hands shaking from the tension. "We will," he said softly. "We promise." As the Valor ascended, leaving the Shaib Queen to recover, Aiden looked at his crew. They were tired, shaken, but glowing with the satisfaction of a mission done not just well, but rightly. In that moment, humanity's place in the galaxy felt real, not because of power or technology, but because of something far more profound. The ability to choose compassion, even in the face of beings that could crush them with a thought. And somewhere deep in the swirling green storms of Shaib, the Queen's voice echoed one final time. "Human, you honor life." The Valor sailed back into orbit, leaving the living planet behind. But the lesson remained. Sometimes the greatest victories were not fought with weapons, but with the heart, and humanity had just proven itself in ways no starship or weapon could ever measure. The Valor floated silently in orbit, a tiny vessel against the enormity of Shaib. Below, The living planet had begun to pulse more evenly, her bioluminescent veins flowing like liquid light across continents, signaling recovery. Commander Aiden Carr stared at the readings, watching the neural spikes decrease, feeling the heavy weight of responsibility that still rested on his shoulders. "Sir?" Lyra's voice broke the silence, sharp and urgent. "I'm picking up multiple energy signals. Not from Shaib, from outside." Aiden frowned, leaning closer to the console. "Define outside. Beyond her orbit." "Approaching fast. They're not like anything in our registry. The energy signatures are overwhelming. I think they're weaponized." A chill ran down Aiden's spine. He had hoped the encounter with the Shaib Queen would end peacefully, but the galaxy had a way of reminding humanity that their victories were always temporary. "Alert the crew," Aiden ordered. "Prepare for contact and stand by to defend Shaib if necessary." The Valor hummed as the crew sprang into action. Shields activated, weapon systems came online, and navigation recalculated trajectories. Outside, 3 massive ships emerged from the void, their hulls black and angular, alien designs unlike anything humans had ever faced. "They're massive," Jenks muttered. "But why here?" "We're just floating." "Because we're in the middle of something bigger than ourselves," Aiden said grimly. "Something they don't want us to be part of." The alien vessels moved with terrifying precision. Energy pulses streaked past the Valor, barely missing the shields. The Queen's voice, deep and resonant, reached them telepathically this time. "Humans, you meddle in matters dangerous. The Void Watchers arrive." Aiden frowned. "Void Watchers?" "The name of predators, older than stars. They feed on worlds and intelligence. Shaib is precious." The Valor crew exchanged nervous glances. Humanity had faced alien threats before, but this was different. This was not just survival. It was the defense of a living, sentient planet, and one wrong move could unleash untold destruction. "Lyra, can we communicate with them?" Aiden asked. "Attempting now, sir," she said, fingers flying over the console. The Valor's translator struggled with the alien syntax. After tense moments, a message crackled through. "Humans, you trespass. Step aside or perish." Aiden clenched his jaw. "We don't step aside. Shaib has trusted us. We defend her." "Sir, they're powering up their weapons," Jenks warned. "We don't have the firepower to match them." Aiden's eyes narrowed. "We don't need to match them. We need to outthink them." He turned to Lyra. "Can we interface with Shaib's neural network? Coordinate with her directly?" Lyra hesitated. "It's risky. Her network is vast, like an entire ecosystem of thought. But yes, we can try." "Do it," Aiden said. "We either adapt or die." The crew worked feverishly, linking the Valor's systems to Shaib's neural pulses. Slowly, a network of glowing pathways appeared on the display. Shaib's awareness expanded outward, touching the approaching Void Watchers. "They feel her," Lyra said, awe in her voice. "She's communicating directly with them." Aiden nodded. "Good, let's make this quick. Lyra, coordinate with her. Find a way to repel them without bloodshed." The Queen's voice resonated through the ship. "Humans, you must trust me. Follow my flow." Aiden took a deep breath. He had never worked with something so incomprehensible before. But that was the essence of humanity. Courage in the face of the impossible. The Valor moved as one with Shaib, weaving through her energy pulses. The Void Watchers fired again, their beams slicing through space. But Shaib's massive neural shield absorbed the attacks, redirecting them harmlessly into her own energy network. "They're confused," Jenks said, watching the enemy ships falter. "They've never faced a world thinking like this." "Exactly," Aiden said, a spark of triumph in his chest. "Human ingenuity, magnified by a sentient planet. They don't understand it. That's our advantage." With every coordinated move, the Valor and Shaib's network forced the Void Watchers into retreat. The alien ships, immense and terrifying, were no match for a combined force of human intellect and planetary consciousness. The Queen's voice, once distant, grew warm and approving. "Humans, remarkable. You adapt, survive, protect." Aiden felt a surge of pride. This was the moment humanity had always dreamed of. Not just surviving, but standing alongside beings older than stars, proving their worth. But the battle was not over. The Void Watchers regrouped, now using unpredictable maneuvers. One ship broke away, charging directly toward Shaib's core. The Queen's neural network flared, sending a pulse of warning through the Valor. They want her core, Lyra said, horror in her voice. If they breach it... Aiden didn't finish the sentence. He already knew the consequences. The death of a sentient planet. Billions of years of life erased in moments. Jenks, prepare the containment field. Lyra, I need maximum neural synchronization. We pull the core away from their path, if even for seconds. The crew moved with precision. Jenks activated the containment system, and Lyra guided Shaib's neural energy in a protective bubble around the approaching threat. The Void Watcher slammed into the shield. Energy erupted in a violent storm, shaking the Valor violently. Aiden gritted his teeth. Hold it! Hold it! Time stretched. The ship rocked, alarms blared, and the crew's muscles ached from the tension. Then slowly the Void Watcher faltered, its attack blunted by the combined power of human coordination and Shaib's intelligence. Now, Aiden shouted. Lyra pulsed Shaib's neural energy in a focused wave. The Void Watcher was forced backward, spinning helplessly as the Queen's intelligence enveloped it, neutralizing its systems without destroying it. Silence followed. The remaining two ships retreated into the void. Unable to comprehend the power of a human and a sentient planet united, the crew exhaled, relief washing over them like a tidal wave. Aiden slumped into his chair, his body trembling. Is it over? He asked. Shaib's voice, warm and resonant, filled the ship. Overman for now. Humans, you. Extraordinary. Ally, protector, courage, rare. Lyra smiled. Sir, we did it. We saved her and we didn't fire a single shot to destroy them. Aiden nodded. That's humanity's strength. Not in weapons, but in thought, courage, and choice. That's why we survive. Why we thrive. Why we are remarkable. The Queen pulsed with soft light as though breathing deeply after a storm. Humans, you honor. Life, you adapt to inspire. Future, hopeful. The crew gathered on the bridge, exhausted but elated. They had faced an impossible threat and emerged victorious, not through force but through strategy, empathy, and ingenuity. It was the very essence of what made humanity extraordinary. But Aiden knew this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and creatures like the Void Watchers were only a fraction of the unknown that waited. Humanity's place in the cosmos would not be given. It would be earned again and again. Set course for home, Aiden ordered, and keep Shaib's coordinates secure. The galaxy needs to know she exists, but only when the time is right. Understood, sir, Lyra said, her fingers flying over the controls. As the Valor prepared to leave orbit, the Queen's voice returned one last time, gentle, almost maternal. Humans. Remember, courage, empathy, wisdom, path. Yours honor, life. Aiden allowed himself a small smile. He had learned a lesson that no book, no training, no war could teach. Humanity's greatest weapon was its spirit, its ability to understand, to adapt, to rise to challenges greater than itself. And somewhere in the pulsating depths of Shaib, the Queen rested, healed and aware that humanity had earned her trust, not by conquest, but by proving that they could rise to the highest standards of life itself. The stars stretched ahead, infinite and inviting. Aiden looked at them, feeling the pulse of hope that humans carried with them wherever they went. The galaxy was full of danger, full of wonders, full of challenges that could crush entire civilizations. But humanity would face them, and humanity would endure, and humanity would shine. For in the end, it was not the weapons, the ships, or the technology that defined them. It was the heart, the mind, and the spirit, the very essence that made humans extraordinary in a universe that often underestimated them. And as the Valor sailed into the infinite black, guided by the light of stars and the trust of a living planet, one truth was undeniable. The galaxy had just witnessed the strength of humans, a strength that would echo across the cosmos for generations to come. Weeks had passed since the battle near Shaib. The Valor drifted through the quiet of deep space, its hull still bearing the faint scars from the energy blasts of the Void Watchers. Inside, the crew moved with quiet purpose, but the memory of what they had seen, the living planet, the voice of the Queen, and the unity between humanity and something so vast, remained fresh in every heart. Commander Aiden Carr sat in his quarters, staring at a holographic projection of Shaib's glowing form. Even from this distance, she looked alive, pulsing with soft light like a giant heart beating in the dark. Lyra entered, holding a datapad. "Sir," she said softly, "the message we sent to the Galactic Council was received. They want a full report on the Shaib incident." Aiden nodded slowly. "And the Council's reaction?" Lyra hesitated. "Mixed. Some think we interfered with a natural phenomenon. Others believe we discovered a potential ally. But there's also fear. The idea of a living planet that can communicate and fight back makes them uneasy." Aiden gave a tired smile. "It should. We humans barely understand the oceans of our own world, and now we've spoken to something that spans an entire biosphere." He stood up, walking to the viewing port. Stars glimmered beyond the glass, countless and silent. "We showed the galaxy what humanity can do, but we also showed them that we'll stand beside those who can't defend themselves. That's what they'll remember." Lyra set the datapad on the table. "The Council requested we attend a summit on Nova Prime. They're sending representatives from over 100 species. They want to question us, and maybe warn us." Aiden nodded. "Let them question. Let them see who we are." The Valor arrived at Nova Prime 2 days later. The planet's cities floated above the surface, shining like jewels suspended in clouds. It was home to the Galactic Council, where ancient and powerful civilizations debated the future of thousands of worlds. When Aiden and his crew stepped off the landing ramp, a wave of murmurs swept through the gathered delegates. Humans were still new to this vast community, often underestimated because of their youth as a spacefaring race. But after the Shaib incident, everyone wanted to see the species that had stood between a living planet and cosmic predators. Inside the council chamber, hundreds of holographic platforms floated in a vast circle, representatives from every corner of the galaxy, beings of light, mist, scales, and steel, watched silently as Aiden took the central podium. A towering crystalline being named Velrath spoke first. Its voice sounded like ringing glass. "Commander Aiden Carr of Earth, you claim to have communicated with the entity known as Shaib. Do you understand the danger you've brought upon this council? The Void Watchers do not forgive interference." Aiden stood tall, his voice calm. "We didn't interfere for conquest or power. We helped because she asked. She was suffering because of us, because of our old machines buried in her. We fixed our mistake. That's what humans do." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Another delegate, a reptilian scholar named Thyre, leaned forward. "And what gives your kind the right to involve yourselves in such matters? The Void Watchers are older than most civilizations here." Aiden's eyes hardened. "Age doesn't justify cruelty. Power doesn't justify silence. Humanity has learned one thing from every world we've explored. When someone is in pain, you don't look away. You help." Silence filled the chamber. Then slowly a few delegates nodded. Others looked uncertain. Velrath's crystalline surface dimmed slightly, the equivalent of a frown. "And if your help brings war? If the Void Watchers return and see us as your allies, then humanity will stand in front," Aiden said simply. "We'll face them again just like before. Because if we let fear decide who deserves compassion, then we've already lost what makes us alive." The hall was still. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then a low hum began from one of the side platforms, the representative of the Theral species long known for their neutrality. "The human speaks truth," the Theral said. "The galaxy grows cold with fear. Maybe we need warmth again." Voices began to rise. Some agreed, others argued. But the tide had shifted. The council had heard something rare: courage without arrogance, conviction without pride. After the session, Aiden walked alone through the gardens of Nova Prime. Artificial waterfalls cascaded down crystal walls, and alien plants glowed faintly under the twin suns. He felt a presence soft but familiar touch his mind. Human. "Aiden." He stopped, recognizing the voice immediately. "Shaib?" he whispered. "Yes. I reach through light and thought to speak." Her voice was faint but clear like a breeze over calm water. "You defend me. You remind others that life it is sacred." Aiden smiled faintly. "You're healing. Yes, your machine's gone. My pain less, but I sense more in danger." "What danger?" he asked quickly. "Void Watchers. Not alone. Others. Hunger. For life's energy." Aiden's heart sank. "They're coming back. Soon. But you are ready." The connection faded, leaving a quiet echo in his thoughts. He looked up at the stars again. The universe had just grown darker, but his resolve burned brighter. Days later, as the Valor prepared to leave Nova Prime, Aiden gathered his crew. "We have orders," he said. "The Council wants us to investigate outer systems near the Rift Line. If Shaib is right, the Void Watchers might not be the only ones feeding on living worlds." Jenks groaned. "Can't we have one peaceful mission?" Aiden smirked. "You joined the wrong crew for that." Lyra leaned forward. "Sir, if this is true, we could be facing something far worse." "Why send just us?" "Because we're the only ones who understand what's at stake," Aiden said. "And because Shaib trusted humans," the crew nodded. They knew what it meant to carry that responsibility. Humanity had stepped into something much larger than itself, and they wouldn't turn away. When the Valor reached the Rift Line, the void ahead looked wrong. It wasn't empty space, it was alive with faint, pulsing shadows. The sensors flickered, unable to focus. "What is that?" Lyra whispered. Aiden stared, his expression grim. "It's feeding," just like Shaib said. The crew watched as tendrils of black energy reached toward a nearby moon, draining it until its surface turned gray and lifeless. The sight made their stomachs twist. "We can't fight that," Jenks said quietly. "No," Aiden agreed. "But maybe we can stop it," he thought quickly. Shaib's neural system absorbed energy. "What if we mimic her? If we project the same frequency she used, we might interrupt their feeding pattern." Lyra's eyes widened. "Sir, that could overload our systems." "Then we overload together," Aiden said. "Better to burn bright than watch worlds die." The crew exchanged determined looks. They had faced impossible odds before. They would do it again. "Do it," Aiden ordered. Lyra synced the ship's power core with the neural frequency they had recorded from Shaib. The Valor glowed faint blue as energy surged through its hull. A pulse of light expanded outward, resonating across the void. The shadows recoiled, writhing and shrieking in frequencies the crew could barely stand to hear. The moon stabilized, its death slowing, but the Valor trembled violently, systems screaming under the strain. "Hold it," Aiden shouted. "Just a few seconds more." The darkness retreated, scattering back into the rift. The light faded. The Valor went dark. For a moment, there was silence. Then the emergency lights flickered on. The crew coughed and groaned, but were alive. Jenks laughed weakly. "We're still here." Lyra smiled through exhaustion. "And so's the moon." Aiden leaned back, exhaling. "Then that's enough." He looked at the stars outside. The danger wasn't gone. The galaxy was still full of predators and mysteries, but now others would know. Humanity would keep fighting, not for power, but for life itself. Later, as the Valor drifted toward a nearby repair station, a message came through the comms. It wasn't words, just a gentle pulse of energy, the same rhythm as a heartbeat. Lyra smiled softly. "It's Shaib. She knows what we did." Aiden nodded. "Then we did right." He stood, looking out at the endless black sea of space. "Tell the crew to rest, but keep the engines warm. Something tells me we're far from done." Lyra tilted her head. "You think the galaxy will ever truly accept us?" Aiden's eyes softened. "They will, because we'll keep proving who we are, again and again." He looked at the stars, his reflection faint against the glass. Humanity had once been small, bound to one world. Now they were explorers, defenders, dreamers. They had stood before ancient powers and refused to bend. And somewhere far across the stars, a living planet pulsed in harmony with a single human heartbeat. In that vast and endless universe, one truth echoed brighter than any sun. Humanity had earned its place not through fear or dominance, but through the courage to care.